married for 6 years. The servants informed me that my wife's ex-boyfriend had returned to the country. This ex-boyfriend was none other than the award-winning actor Makoto. Even when I was supervising my daughter's homework, she openly defied me, saying, "Daddy is bad. Uncle Ito is nice. Uncle Ito not only buys me candy, he never forces me to study. I want Makoto to be my dad." So I sent Willow the divorce papers right away. But afterwards, no one could have expected, during a variety show recording, one casual remark from my daughter brought the entire set to a stunned silence, and left both Makoto and me completely shocked. Chapter 01. Everyone knows the only reason I managed to marry Willow was because of my unparalleled simp skills. Willow is a wealthy heiress, a young lady of a prominent family with breathtaking looks and a frosty disposition. I was just a nameless extra in a film crew, yet I not only succeeded in marrying her, I even got her to have children with me. Who wouldn't call me the grandmaster of all simps? But honestly, only I know the bitterness behind it all. In the 6th year of our marriage, the servants told me Willow's ex-boyfriend had come back to the country. That ex wasn't just anyone, it was Makoto, the acclaimed actor. The familiar whiff of the stand-in for a crush trope instantly hit me, so I went online to see if Makoto and I looked at all alike. Oops, sorry, we're nothing alike, not even close. If Makoto is a sentimental old dog, then I, George, am a wild dog that can't be chained, always ready to charge out and bite someone. Unluckily for me, no matter how much fight I've got in me, after Makoto came back, Willow never returned home. She wouldn't pick up my calls or answer my messages. Furious, I scrolled through Makoto's Instagram and found the two of them attending the same event in a coastal city. My wife was out fooling around with another man, and my daughter's behavior was aggravating me even more. Alicia just started elementary school this year. While I was overseeing her homework, not only did she refuse to do it, she openly confronted me. "Daddy is the worst," she declared, hugging her toy. "Uncle Ito is nice. He never makes me study and always buys me toys." I was both angry and amused. Fine, if she wants to leave, then let her. My wife wants to find our daughter a new dad, and it seems Alicia is fully on board with it. They say everyone experiences an awakening at least once in life. At 28, I had mine. After working diligently for the Lu Group all these years, what did I get? A cold shoulder from my father-in-law and constant scorn from my ungrateful wife and daughter. Living as a humble, live-in simp was beyond humiliating, but it doesn't matter. I'm walking away. The Lu family's tiny shrine can't possibly hold a great Buddha like me. I'm going to walk out there and blind the whole world. Chapter 02. I fired off a divorce agreement to Willow in record time, then contacted my agent, David, my brother from another mother. He lined up my first comeback role, playing a vicious supporting character in Makoto's new production. That made me so mad I nearly disowned him on moral grounds. I grabbed David by the collar, ready to give him a good thrashing. David pleaded his innocence, saying, "Wong, come on. Think this through. You haven't acted in years. The fact you can even book a part now is already a win." He wasn't wrong. You have to slog through some hardships on your road to success. So I stopped complaining and reluctantly joined the crew to play the sidekick villain to Makoto's leading man. He's a true gentleman with a big heart. As for me, I'm no man unless I'm ruthless. At the press conference, Makoto stood beside me, wearing a warm, humble smile, but every word he spoke was laced with insinuations. He patted my shoulder and said, "I feel like Mr. Wong in real life resembles his character a lot. He portrays that underhanded, despicable nature flawlessly." In the original storyline, this character had a romantic subplot, but I decided to scrap it. After all, we agreed no woman would ever fall for a man like that. I brushed off my shoulder and cut him short without bothering to banter. I grabbed the mic in one swift motion. I said, "I hope the scriptwriters heard that. Looks like Mr. Ito not only delivers a less than stellar performance, but also takes it upon himself to rewrite your script." The moment the press conference went live, I got dragged through the mud by Makoto's fans. I shot straight to the top of the trending topics for all the wrong reasons. Who does this washed-up nobody think he is? Publicly dissing our Makoto. He's just a bitter simp who spent 6 years groveling for Willow's attention. But Willow's heart was always with Makoto. Another comment read, "Makoto came back, and that guy immediately got kicked to the curb." My buddies tried to comfort me, but I was surprisingly chill about it. I said, "It's no big deal. I'm focusing on my career right now. As an actor, having no buzz is the real nightmare. Makoto just handed me all this free publicity. I should be thanking him. I gotta strike while the iron's hot, pick up 20 more villain roles." True to form, my agent hustled and quickly got me over 20 scripts. While I was at home feverishly reading them, Makoto was busy making waves of his own. He stirred up a social media frenzy while also taking my daughter onto the hottest parent-child reality show. Then he sent me a message beforehand. "George, watch the live stream at 8 tonight. Just give up. Willow is mine. You can cling all you want, but it's useless. Cling. How am I clinging? I've already mailed the divorce agreement, Willow just won't sign it. I've called 3 times to check, and every time her company assistant picks up to say Ms. Lou is too busy to look at my divorce papers. I tried explaining this to Makoto, but he wouldn't believe me. He laughed and said, Willow's always loved me. She can't wait to divorce you. If you weren't squatting in the Lou family mansion like a parasite, I'd have held a wedding for her long ago. Better tune in tonight and see how your daughter calls me Dad. Chapter 03. As much as it stung, I guess we humans are all a bit masochistic. At exactly 8 o'clock, I tuned into the live stream. Makoto appeared on screen wearing a doting smile, leading Alicia by the hand. It was as though he couldn't wait to plaster exemplary family man across the broadcast. He said, Ali, here's your favorite chocolate ice cream. I've stocked the freezer. This time, you can have as much as you like. I felt my anger flare. Ali has a major sweet tooth and loves cold treats, but a child's stomach is delicate. When I was home, I only let her have 1 sweet snack a day at most. She threw tantrums over it more than once. Ali was busy playing with her doll. She glanced at the fridge and asked, Can I skip dinner and just have ice cream? Makoto chuckled. Of course you can, as long as you're happy. Eat whatever you want, but that'll make you sick. Ali puffed out her cheeks. Uncle, do you really not know that? Makoto's smile froze. In front of the cameras, he was at a loss for words. He said, Ali, you should call me Dad. But Ali kept her head down, focused on her doll, ignoring him completely. Makoto lost his patience and, forgetting the fact they were live, snapped. Once I marry your mom, I'll be your dad. You'll have to call me that sooner or later. Got it? Ali set aside her Rubik's Cube and fixed her gaze on Makoto. Just when he thought she was finally giving in, she burst into tears with a loud wail. You're a big meanie. I used to be the top student in my class, but you only let me play with toys and never do homework. So now I'm falling behind. Tom and Max make fun of me. Atta girl. She still has hope, I thought, feeling proud. She went on through her sobs. If mom marries you, I'll end up dead last in my class. I don't want to be last. Ali was bawling her eyes out on camera, snot and tears everywhere, while Makoto's face went from pale to red and back again, awkward in every possible way. He forced a tight smile and muttered through clenched teeth, Ali, if you keep acting out, your mom is going to deal with you when we get home. With that half-hearted attempt at salvaging his pride, he signaled frantically to the cameraman to wrap things up, and the show ended in a rush. That very night, Makoto and I both dominated social media's trending topics again. My manager friend was practically speechless with excitement. Buying ad space for a trending topic is expensive, he said. Our tiny agency can't afford that kind of promotion. Makoto practically gave it to you for free. He's shoveling money into your pocket. I checked the comments on the trending posts. It was hard to tell if they were bots or Makoto's fans, but most of them were cursing me out. One said, that jerk George must have brainwashed his daughter. He's the reason she's behaving so badly. Someone replied, don't worry, that kid doesn't know any better. Her mom will probably give her a good spanking when she gets home. A few minutes later, a new alert popped up. Welcome Ms. Willow to the platform. Makoto's fans rushed to Willow's newly created account. They commented, Miss Lou must have joined to show support for our Makoto. Another one said, she really loves him. They're childhood sweethearts, the best ship. If that buzzkill George hadn't stuck his nose in, it would have been perfect. Moments later, Willow's very first post appeared. Willow, who is Makoto? Could the show's production staff please contact me and explain why my daughter is with him? Chapter 04. Willow's Instagram post took the online frenzy to new heights. Social media blew up in a Rashomon-like storm, with commenters saying all sorts of things. Some claimed Makoto had long bragged that Willow had accepted his proposal, and this latest post proved it was just made-up hype. Willow didn't even acknowledge him. Others insisted people didn't get it. This was obviously just a lover's spat, with Willow throwing a tantrum online. There were also those who said it was all because of George, that repulsive jerk who keeps haunting Willow's life, probably using some manipulative tactic on her. The show's director, an affable, heavy-set guy, was at home, positively euphoric. The soaring viewership felt like a career high for him. That night he even ate 3 extra bowls of rice to celebrate. Not only did he insist Makoto keep live streaming with Ali, he also rushed over to my hotel to invite me to join the show. I frowned. You're not trying to stir up drama, are you? Hoping Makoto and I will throw hands on camera. He shook his head emphatically. Of course not, Mr. Wong. You're overthinking it. But the gleam in his eyes gave him away. He was definitely thinking about it. I hesitated. Currently, I was staying at a hotel provided by the production crew for a new show, backed by a decent team. The next day, I had an important scene to shoot, one that could be a real boost to my acting career if I did it well. Still, I missed my daughter, even if she was acting out. No matter how troublesome she is, she's my kid. I tried testing the waters by giving Ali a call. Don't come. I don't want you here. she answered, her little voice surprisingly stern. You and mommy are already divorced, I'm staying with her. I heard Makoto laughing in the background, presumably watching cartoons with Ali. I couldn't help myself. Have you finished your homework? Why are you watching TV already? Ali quickly cut me off. Uncle Makoto promised to help me with my homework. I don't need you. Anyway, don't come. I don't miss you one bit. If you show up, I won't see you. She hung up, leaving me listening to the busy signal. Stunned, I set my phone down. The director had no choice but to leave. Before he went, he handed me his business card and said I could join the show anytime if I changed my mind. I stared at that card for a long while and sighed. Forget it. No point in chasing after someone who doesn't want me around. I'd hoped she might miss me, but within just a few hours, Makoto had found some new way to buy her over. Now that I think about it, Ali's hot and cold routine, torturing everyone around her, is exactly like her mother's. My agent buddy showed up with some takeout, and I went over the lines for my big scene again before getting a good night's sleep. Early the next morning, I arrived on set, and immediately felt how massive the buzz had become. Usually, a minor actor like me doesn't draw any media attention, but after last night's drama, paparazzi swarmed the filming location. The crew refused to let them onto the set, so they actually rented a construction crane and hoisted a high-definition camera up in the air to catch my every expression. They probably hoped to see me depressed and unfocused, a down-and-out middle-aged man whose wife left him. But I wasn't about to give them the satisfaction. If they wanted to roll the cameras, I'd show them how professional I can be. In my pivotal scene, my lines were crisp and clear, emotions fully engaged. The fight choreography flowed like water, and during a heated shouting match, my intensity was off the charts. After one take, the director and the entire crew around the monitor applauded. The paparazzi didn't get the dirt they wanted, so they posted these behind-the-scenes shots online instead. In the comments, people who had been waiting for a juicy train wreck found themselves watching an actual show scene. Some commented, "These paparazzi are slipping. This isn't gossip. It's basically a behind-the-scenes feature." Someone else said, "Wow, I gotta say, those fight moves looked pretty legit. Maybe that Wong guy has some skill." Another replied, "Wait, do we still have actors in this industry who do their own stunts?" My agent buddy cackled while reading these comments. I knew exactly why he found it so funny. Makoto is famous for frequently using stunt doubles, a fact once criticized as an industry scandal. With the topic resurfacing now, it was inevitable people would compare us. I wasn't sure who was winning on the romantic front, but at least career-wise, I was pulling ahead for the moment. After we wrapped for the day, I tuned into Makoto and Ali's live stream again. By then, they should be getting along pretty well, right? 3 minutes in, I realized how wrong I was. The production had asked each parent-child pair to prepare a performance for a group showcase. True to form, Makoto leaned hard into his favorite persona, devoted husband, and loving dad. This time, he planned a short play with Ali. He would play a brave knight, rescuing Ali, dressed as a princess, from a menacing dragon. It was classic Makoto, hoping to capture the hearts of those viewers who fantasize about being pampered like a child by their spouse. On the day of the show, Makoto was decked out in full knightly regalia, except for the helmet, so as not to hide his handsome face. He probably had the trending hashtags all planned out. Maybe something like, "Makoto the gallant hero on the run." Ali, in her little princess gown, looked totally uninvested. She half-heartedly read her lines, half-heartedly got taken away by the dragon, and half-heartedly waited for Makoto to rescue her. But at the crucial moment, she suddenly stopped Makoto and turned to the dragon. "Let's make a deal," she said. "If you take my stepdad away and make him disappear, I'll let you be my dad." Okay. On the live stream, I could practically see Makoto's pupils quake in real time. Ali had completely derailed the script. The staff member playing the dragon was stunned, turning to the show director for guidance. But that heavy-set director, a veteran of many reality shows, sensed prime viral content in the making. He waved for them to continue. In a gruff, dragon voice, the staffer asked, "You don't want to go with him?" "Nope," Ali said. "You're older and live alone. I'll stay with you, keep you company in your old age. And you have to promise not to harm the innocent people in our kingdom." That night, a high-profile Instagram blogger wrote a 1,000-word analysis of Ali's improvised storyline. In this 6-year-old, we see genuine altruism and empathy. She's a princess who puts her people first, sacrificing herself for the peace of her realm. More importantly, she shows compassion for another creature. While everyone else deems the dragon evil, she recognizes its loneliness. Meanwhile, in a corner no one paid attention to, Makoto looked like he was about to blow a fuse. His carefully crafted, gallant hero, hashtag never trended at all. Instead, viewers mockingly pushed, "runaway clown," for him. It was a brutal blow for someone who loves to keep his protective dad and doting husband image alive. Ali, for her part, was oblivious to the online chatter. When interviewed, she let out a long sigh of relief. At least I don't have to rehearse anymore. Now I can study properly, she said. I already promised Tom and Max I'll do better on my next test. The show's producer gently probed. Is that promise just for Tom and Max? I'm sure there's someone else who wants you to do well too, and we've invited him here today. Ali's big eyes suddenly welled up with tears. She turned around as the door opened, and I walked in. Yes, I decided to show up after all. The filming was over, and my schedule was free, so I pulled out the business card the director had left me and gave him a call. Ali let out a cry and lunged into my arms. I scooped her up, and everyone on set braced themselves for an emotional father-daughter reunion. They watched me with tearful eyes, anticipating some moving, heartfelt speech. I looked at her and asked, "Who are Tom and Max?" Ali was speechless. She looked away. They're my two best friends. My face clouded over. How can you be close friends with two boys at the same time? Tom and Max, you gotta pick one. The audience had been on the edge of their seats waiting for some messy three-way drama between Willow, Makoto, and me. After Willow's last Instagram post, she'd vanished. I'd been busy on set, so the public had been left hanging, curiosity boiling over. Now my sudden line caused an instant uproar. In the barrage of scrolling comments, people chimed in. Whoa, is he throwing shade at Willow? Remember, Makoto and George went to school with Willow. They both chased her once. So George is basically hinting at Willow's love triangle. Another person added. Exactly, dating multiple people at once. Stringing them along, that's scummy behavior. Someone countered. Stop with the backup plan nonsense. Willow's divorced now. Obviously she's gonna marry Makoto. Someone else shot back. Makoto's fans are delusional. Didn't Willow just post about not even knowing who he is? The fight in the comments escalated rapidly, with both sides going at it, until a new trending topic shot to the top. Makoto-Willow intimate photos leaked. Chapter 05. The photo looked like it was taken 7 or 8 years ago. Back then, Makoto hadn't yet become a famous award-winning actor. He was sporting a neat buzz cut. Willow was wearing a white dress, even without makeup. A gentle smile from her could take anyone's breath away. She was leaning close to Makoto, handsome boy and beautiful girl, a picture-perfect couple. The moment that photo was released, it ended all debate. Willow's earlier Instagram post claiming she didn't know Makoto instantly lost all credibility. Makoto's fans claimed a total victory, flooding every corner of the internet with, "Told you it was just a little lover's quarrel." And Willow's definitely got the attitude of a spoiled heiress. She really needs to watch her mouth. Right around that time, someone conveniently leaked Makoto's private Instagram account. It didn't have much content, just a few journal entries. Today she got married, and I was out in the rain alone, feeling a tangled mess of pain. I blame myself for not noticing sooner. At graduation, that shameless guy kept clinging to her. She only danced one dance and had one drink with him. He must have spiked that drink. That's how she ended up carrying his child and marrying him. I hate no one. I only hate fate for separating two people who truly love each other. I stared at the screen, my fists unconsciously clenching. My agent walked up behind me, patted my back, and said, "There's no point trying to clear your name now. Nobody would believe you." I set my phone aside and sighed. I just want a good night's sleep. That night, I dreamed about the dance Makoto mentioned. I was holding Willow in the brightly lit ballroom, her dress swirling. Her eyes were mesmerizing, glowing brighter than the crystal chandeliers. I lost myself in that glow, never wanting to come up for air. I'd liked Willow from the very first day of freshman year. She was the radiant center of attention, a cool and distant campus beauty, and the wealthy daughter of a powerful family. Whenever she performed at arts showcases, crowds of male admirers went wild. I did a lot of clumsy things to catch her eye, dressing up in a mascot costume to hand out flyers along her usual path, or scheming to get into the same project group in an elective course. One summer, the inside of that mascot suit was stiflingly hot, and I managed to say just one line, "Hey, Willow," before fainting from heat stroke. Willow was the one who struggled to carry me to the school clinic. Then, after we finally got assigned to the same project group, I vowed to impress Willow with my brilliance, crammed through 5 volumes of English language research in 3 all-nighters. But I was so sleep-deprived that my mind went blank during the presentation. And again, Willow had to quietly step in and save me. I was convinced Willow might like me a bit too. After all, at our graduation dance, she agreed to be my partner. When I invited her, asking if she'd join me, I caught a faint smile, one that reminded me of Alicia's, on that frosty yet striking face of hers. She said yes, and no, I never drugged her. So Makoto's story was obviously false. But we had more than just a single drink, way more. I remember taking Willow home in a car after the party. She leaned her head on my shoulder, collar slightly open, the sweet scent of her perfume mingling with the warmth of alcohol. I told myself, sometimes in life you've got to be bold for love. So I unfastened my seatbelt, wrapped an arm around her, and lowered my head to kiss her. The startled driver slammed on the brakes. Willow, however, just fell into my arms, hugging me tight. I can still recall the fragrance clinging to her that night, rose perfume mingled with the tipsy warmth, heady and alluring. Chapter 06. Makoto's version of events isn't true, but it's not entirely baseless either. For instance, I really don't know if Willow would have married me had she not gotten pregnant with Alicia after that dance. After the wedding, our communication became even less frequent. My father-in-law disapproved of me and thought acting was a dead-end career. He forced me to join the family company, but he didn't just hand me some cushy position. In fact, he worked me to the bone every day from dawn till dusk. Even so, he never changed his attitude. He often berated me in front of everyone, humiliating me. As for Willow, she was constantly traveling, visiting different branches to prepare for taking over the company. In short, we saw each other rarely. A single meeting was hard to come by. You could say that after 6 years of marriage, I still didn't know Willow all that well. Sometimes I felt like she did love me. For example, once when I was sick, she flew back overnight to stay with me, but by the time my fever broke the next morning, the room was empty. Alicia was about 4 or 5 at the time. I asked her if she saw her mom, and she shook her head insistently. She said, "Mommy never came home." "Did she tell you to say that?" I pressed. Ollie hesitated for a moment. That was enough to confirm that Willow really had come back. So it wasn't just my imagination, but I couldn't figure out why she was going to such lengths. Online chatter about me was deafening, but in this day and age, even bad publicity can sometimes be a benefit. One morning, as soon as I woke up, my agent David burst in, grabbed me, and shook me with excitement. A world-famous film director, someone I wouldn't have even dreamed of working with, had emailed, inviting me to audition for his new movie to play a rising Chinese star. In his email, the director wrote, "There's a sense of controversy and a compelling personal story surrounding Mr. Wong, which is exactly what I've been looking for. Take a look at the script and let me know." After reading the script, I saw why the director had reached out to me. The role was a down-on-his-luck aspiring actor who rises to stardom through sheer perseverance. Gifted and glamorous on the surface, he also faces endless slander and gossip, carrying an underlying loneliness behind the spotlight. The parallels between the film's story and the public circus around my own life were uncanny. I knew that if I could truly embody this character, I might leave my mark on cinematic history. I immediately replied, accepting the role, but things didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. On the very first day of production, the moment I arrived at the hotel conference room, I saw the director hurl his script onto the table in a rage. It turned out the investors had forced changes to the script, just so they could insert another character. Instead of one lead, there would now be 2. My original role was the determined underdog clawing his way up, while the newly added role was, of course, a refined, wealthy heir. The second I heard that description, I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, the investor's plush minivan pulled up, and out stepped none other than Makoto. Chapter 07. Makoto comes from a very wealthy family. His foray into show business is purely about fame and fortune. In some ways, he and Willow are a perfect match. If Willow marries him after divorcing me, their 2 families will no doubt merge and become even more powerful. Right now, Makoto's face was lit with a smug grin. Ever since his secret account came to light, he's managed to paint me as the sleazy guy who drugged someone, while he became the destined soulmate who'd been kept apart from Willow by cruel twists of fate. The director clearly wasn't keen on Makoto but had no choice. The film industry has been in a slump these past couple of years. Even a well-known director struggles to secure funding for a project. Smoking a cigarette, he let out a quiet sigh in my direction. "There's nothing we can do. Art always has to bow to capital." I understood his dilemma, but Makoto wasn't finished. He brought an entire team of writers to the set and started revising the script. My scenes were visibly shrinking. Eventually, nearly every scene revolved around him. The director erupted in anger on set. He fumed. "With this new script, I don't even know what I'm supposed to shoot anymore." But the producer, who'd already taken money from Makoto's family, was brimming with confidence. He said, "Director, if you insist on refusing to film, we can always find a replacement. Of course, you're free to stick to your original script, provided you can secure the funding on your own." He trailed off suddenly, mid-sentence. A motorcade had pulled up, with a Maserati at the front. When its door swung open, a figure in a fitted black designer dress stepped out. Willow. She wore her usual cool, distant expression. Striding up to the producer, he recognized her immediately and forced a fawning smile. "Miss Liu, what brings you here?" Willow's voice was every bit as frosty as her demeanor. "All the buzz online about your production. I came to see what's so entertaining." Dusk was falling, and the dimming light seemed to put her on edge. She slipped off her sunglasses, tucked them into her purse, and walked forward. The producer hurried to usher her in. Under the interplay of set lighting and shadows, her features stood out even more sharply, a face so flawless it seemed like a masterpiece from the hand of creation. Around me, I heard hushed gasps. Everyone knew Willow had the kind of face worthy of the silver screen. Paired with that poised, Regal air you can only cultivate growing up in wealth, something no actor could ever fully imitate. I pinched my thigh hard. George, don't be a fool. A beautiful face can topple kingdoms. Don't let your guard down. She's not yours anymore. She's not yours. But before I'd finished talking myself out of being dazzled, I saw Willow heading straight for me. She stopped by my side and turned to the producer. He was clearly confused and forced a grin again. Miss Liu, as of now, I am one of the investors, Willow said coolly. Chapter 08. Inside the meeting room, the director, who had never met Willow before, tried to gauge the intentions of this new financial backer. He asked politely, Ms. Liu, if you plan to invest in our project, do you have any particular expectations? Willow replied, I don't know anything about the artistic side. Sitting elegantly in the corner of the sofa, she sipped her tea and pointed at me. You all discuss it. My company is only providing the funding. So the director and I started discussing the film. Willow sat in the back, silently listening, not joining the conversation at all, except once, when the director mentioned that reconstructing a particular scene from years ago would really heighten the character's authenticity. It would be expensive to recreate, though, and in the film, it would only appear for a few seconds. Recreate it, Willow said. That was her only comment all night. Hearing that, the director left to contact the art and props team he knew. In the meeting room, it was just me and Willow. I turned my head and noticed that Willow had fallen asleep, still maintaining her graceful posture, but her brow was slightly furrowed, as though she was utterly exhausted. Now that I've left the company, she must be having a hard time facing everything on her own. I inched closer, trying not to wake her, wanting to drape a blanket over her quietly. But just then, the door flew open. Makoto, having heard Willow was there, barged in like a gust of wind. Willow, startled awake, her eyes held a glimmer of lingering drowsiness, warm and gentle when they landed on me, but turning cold, inch by inch. As she looked at Makoto, she said icily, I didn't think you'd still have the nerve to show up. Actually, it's good you're here. I was just about to settle things for good. Makoto froze. He said, Willow, sis. Willow raised a finger to hush him, then arched her brow with annoyance. Rolling her eyes, she said, don't call me that. It's disgusting. Also, Mr. Ito, we hardly know each other, right? If you hadn't kept popping up left and right, I probably wouldn't even remember you were once my classmate. We at the Liu family have stayed quiet, not because we wanted to save your face, but for the sake of the Ito family, she continued, each word crisp and deliberate. Seems like you don't appreciate it, Makoto protested. No, it's not like that. Willow, I just love you too much. Everything I've done has been for you. Willow cut him off, voice frosty. Get out. He refused to move, glaring at me instead. What did you do to Willow? Did you threaten her? Willow, don't be afraid, I'll protect you. I was speechless. Makoto suddenly lunged at me, and by reflex, I kicked him in the knee, sending him crashing down in front of me. Groaning in pain but still refusing to give up, he grabbed a teacup from the table and hurled it at me. In that split second, Willow yanked on my arm to pull me behind her. The cup shattered, nearly hitting her. Shards flew everywhere. Willow clung tightly to my arm, glaring icily at Makoto. Moments later, security rushed in to restrain him. Willow bit her lip. Take him out of here. The guards hesitated, looking at Makoto. They didn't dare make a move. Willow frowned. Throw him out. This is my private lounge. In the end, Makoto was dragged away against his will, leaving only Willow and me in the room. Her hands were still clutching my arm. The familiar rose scent drifted up, and I felt my resolve waver for a moment. But I pushed her away. Ms. Liu, I said, as far as I remember, we're already divorced. Willow replied, as far as I recall, I never signed. I was at a loss. If you won't sign, I'll file for divorce in court. She looked at me steadily. Do you really want a divorce? Yes, I said, though not with much conviction. Still, I gritted my teeth. Willow, I've had plenty of time to think these past few months. This life with no dignity, I can't go on like that. I have my own dreams, my own ambitions. I'm determined to leave my mark on film history. Willow fell silent for a moment. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I thought I saw a trace of a smile. Softly, she said, fine, then let's get divorced. Chapter 09. The following day, Willow posted yet another Instagram update that stirred up the public. It was simple, just a single photograph. It showed the picture of her and Makoto from the other day, except now it was the full image. In reality, it was a large group photo of about a dozen students, presumably taken after some class. She offered no explanation, but the meaning was crystal clear. Makoto had cropped out everyone else to create a false narrative and deceive the public. Some paparazzi managed to corner Willow, demanding to know why she was only clearing things up now. Was it because of a business relationship between the Liu family and the Ito family? Willow ignored them. I had a hunch about what was really going on. I cornered my friend, my agent, who'd been acting shifty behind my back. Staring him down, I said, I remember a few days ago, you kept sneaking off to make calls, telling someone on the other end, don't do it yet. It's not the right time. He tried to dodge. What are you talking about? I don't get it. Don't play dumb, I snapped, grabbing his shoulders. Were you talking to Willow? You told her not to clarify right away, because letting the gossip simmer would boost my popularity. After all, it wasn't some ironclad scandal. There'd be room to flip the narrative later, and the higher the buzz, the more it would help my career. Getting that film offer proved you right. What exactly are you and Willow plotting? My friend, faced with my barrage of questions, threw up his hands. Nothing, really. No schemes. Willow just asked me to help you get ahead in your career. She said if we ever needed her help, we should reach out. I let go of him and rubbed my temples, recalling how I'd majored in journalism and communications back in college, but had always secretly dreamed of becoming an actor. During my very first campus theater competition, I starred in a play that turned out to be a massive hit. I arrogantly shouted at the time, anyone who wants my autograph, better get it now. I'll be a superstar soon. And back then, Willow was in the audience. Later, I did get some minor acting gigs with production crews, but then my father-in-law roped me into his company. I got buried in work and social engagements, reduced to a rigid, 2-point commute like a machine. Somewhere along the line, I lost sight of my dream. Could it be that Willow still remembered? Chapter 10. Making this film was tough, but all of us on the main creative team loved every minute of it. Makoto's scenes got whittled down to almost nothing, and the script returned to its original form. I was once again the lead under the spotlight. For the final scene, I had to perform a stage play within the movie. The moment I finished, my character's part wrapped for good. The director handed me a bouquet and took a photo with me. Ali ran over to give me a hug. She's on summer break, so she came to visit the set. The director even gave her a small flower girl cameo. Plenty of reporters were on site. Seeing Ali reminded them of our viral father-daughter moment from that reality show, so they held out a mic for her. Have you decided between Tom and Max? Ali replied seriously. I did make a choice. I choose to study. The reporters paused, then burst out laughing. After the interviews, Ali left under the nanny's care to attend her extracurricular class. Some reporters also interviewed Willow. This time, she uncharacteristically shared a bit about her personal life. She paused briefly, then said, I guess you could say I'm currently divorced and single. Sensing a juicy scoop, the reporters asked, with a beauty like Ms. Lu newly single, you must have countless suitors. Willow cut them off in a fluster. Don't say that. I'm divorced and raising a child, and I'm waiting for my ex-husband to come around. A reporter followed up. So, does that mean you're waiting to remarry? Willow nodded. Waiting for the right time. They pressed on. What's the right time for you to say yes to a remarriage? Willow let out a faint smile. Once he becomes a superstar. But that's just my one-sided wish. Whether he's willing to marry me again is up to him. Chapter 11. I went home to pack my things and get ready for my next gig. Ali had gone off to her lessons, and no one else was around. Willow was sitting on the sofa, quietly watching me move about. Truth be told, there wasn't much left to pack. Eventually, I stopped fussing with my bags, deciding to drop the act. I kind of missed the sight of Ms. Lu's beauty, I said, so I came back to have a look. A flush crept over Willow's cheeks. She got up and walked over, caught my hand, and guided it across her brows, the bridge of her nose, her chin, and down along her collarbone, then kept going lower. Before my rational mind could catch up, she rose on her tiptoes and hooked her arms around my neck, whispering in my ear, if a family will only slow you down, I can just be your lover for now. That night, I fell asleep holding Willow and had a dream. We were both old and gray. I was lying in a hospital bed, and she sat by my side, hand in mine, asking if I had any regrets. When I opened my eyes, Willow was already awake. In the darkness, her lashes looked so long. Her gaze was soft as she watched me. She asked, were you dreaming? She scooted closer, pressing herself gently against me. I wanted to tell her I had glimpsed something like our previous lifetime, something that might explain so much. In the end, though, I didn't say it. I only held Willow more tightly in the dark and whispered by her ear. Thank you. Chapter Extra. Willow. In their previous lifetime, Willow and George were actually a happily married couple. She was born into a prominent, wealthy family, raised with all the privileges of that world. Children who grow up in that environment naturally carry a certain aloofness. Until she met George, the year she enrolled, there was a campus competition in which George performed a stage play, playing the role of a gang leader. His acting was riveting. At the very end, he shouted to the audience, if anyone wants my autograph, better hurry. I'm going to be a superstar one day. Though it came across a bit overly dramatic, like a teenage bravado, it also brimmed with a carefree, radiant energy, lively and dazzling. In that moment, she remembered him. George, just an ordinary name, yet she kept running into him. When her mother passed away, she was walking alone on campus. Her face was dry, but inside she felt as overcast as the sky. Suddenly, a giant bear, a student in a mascot suit, charged out from the side and scooped her into a firm hug. Though, as soon as he spoke, he fainted from heat stroke. There were many moments like that. On graduation dance night, George reached out his hand and asked if she would be his dance partner. She had never been so happy in her life. They both drank a lot that day. It wasn't just his impulsive desire. She shared the same feelings. They had a child, got married. Willow took over the company, and George spent his whole life tirelessly helping her. The company thrived, but he grew old. He was no longer that brash, confident young man. He became a shrunken old man, like an apple core. They say men generally have shorter lifespans than women, and George left the world before she did. Willow was at his bedside, asking if he had any regrets. He smiled and said no, but she could see in his eyes that he did. An old film happened to be playing on the TV, one starring Makoto, and she noticed the way George looked at the screen. Full of longing, she hazily recalled how, decades ago, he had stood on stage and shouted to the crowd with such conviction, "I'm going to be a superstar someday." Yet in the end, for her sake, he faded into ordinary life. His old dream drowned in mundane responsibilities. Shortly after George's passing, she was diagnosed with a fatal illness. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself back on her wedding day, wearing that long white gown and walking down the aisle toward George. She gazed at his smiling face. "If we could relive our lives, I hope you'll fulfill your dreams." So she volunteered to manage a branch office out of town. In her previous life, she'd persuaded George to continue acting, but then a crisis erupted at that branch, and it dragged him in. George poured all his energy into the Liu family business, pinning down his own career before it could take off. This time, she decided to intervene early and extinguish the crisis at the source. She worked herself to the bone all by herself, never imagining that, in her absence, the timeline would shift. The Makoto she only vaguely remembered from her past life took advantage of the gap to spread rumors about them, but it didn't matter. After a rough patch, they finally reached a good outcome. One reporter, lacking tact, asked her in an interview, "Miss Liu, if you had to choose between a first love and someone who's left an indelible mark on your life, which would it be? What first love and what so-called imprint?" She laughed. "There was never any first love throughout my entire life. George has always been my only choice." Chapter Extra, Alicia. After graduating, Alicia became a director for a wealthy heiress. It was quite an unusual choice. Yet, considering her father was Mr. George, the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award, perhaps it wasn't so difficult to understand. Alicia's first work was titled 3 Lifetime Romance, an extremely experimental project. She used archival footage of her parents, editing it into a pseudo-documentary that told a story. This film only presented the first lifetime and the second lifetime. In the first, George set aside his dreams and lived an ordinary life. In the second, he pursued his aspirations. After watching it, many audience members asked where the third lifetime was. Alicia did not respond. Many years later, Alicia's parents passed away. Madam Willow and Mr. George both lived to an advanced age, passing peacefully. According to the butler who discovered them in the small house by the sea, Mr. Wang departed first, and Mrs. Liu followed not long after. At their memorial service, Alicia rescreened her debut film. She closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks, yet there was a faint smile on her lips. She said, "Now, they must have gone on to their third lifetime." The movie froze on its final frame. A handwritten note from Ms. Liu to Mr. Wang. "I've witnessed him at his lowest, and I've also seen the light in his eyes when he gazes into the distance. That tiny spark that refuses to die. He's like the wind, he was never meant to stay in one place for my sake alone." On my wedding day, my wife stood on the rooftop, dressed in a pristine white wedding gown. She cried and asked me, "If I die, will those who hurt me feel guilty?" I replied, "They won't feel guilty, but I will make them pay with their lives. I will make each one of them accompany you to the grave. If you still love me, if you don't want me to kill, then don't jump. I will take care of you for the rest of your life." She wiped away her tears and managed a faint smile. "I'm sorry, but I can't hold on any longer. Every day I live, I just want to die." I looked at her, feeling a deep sadness in my heart. I love her, but if she jumps, I understand her. Chapter 1. That day, I went with my wife to try on wedding dresses. Actually, the first dress was already very beautiful. Just looking at her made my heart race. If it weren't for the crowd in the store, I would have hugged and kissed her right there. She shyly asked me if she looked good. A little boy brought by an adult overheard and immediately shouted mischievously, "Wow, so ugly." My wife was upset, so I quickly praised her, saying she was as beautiful as a princess and not to mind the child's nonsense. Only then did she happily say to me, "Aren't you going to buy a milk tea for Princess Her Highness? Wearing a wedding dress is so hot." I foolishly agreed, running off to buy her milk tea. That was the moment I ruined her life. When I returned with the milk tea, I saw a crowd gathered at the entrance of the bridal shop, many of them taking videos with their phones, wondering what was happening. I pushed through the crowd and saw my wife lying disheveled on the ground. The girl I usually pampered like a princess was being pinned to the ground by a woman. The little boy from before stood next to her, raising his hand to slap her. As his slap landed on my wife's face, the woman praised him. "Good job, baby. Hit back." My wife couldn't defend herself. All she could do was cover her chest with her hands, crying and begging, "Please don't film me. Please don't film me." But the bystanders, relishing the drama, kept their phones pointed at her. I went mad on the spot, grabbing a nearby phone and smashing it to pieces, then rushing into the store to push the woman away and hold my wife tightly. She trembled in my arms, clutching my clothes with all her strength, and burst into tears. Seeing her like this broke my heart. I quickly took off my clothes to cover her, asking what had happened, but she just cried and trembled, unable to say a word, holding onto my clothes tightly. In the end, it was our bridal shop sales assistant who told me what had happened. After I left, my wife had taken off the first dress to try on a second one. The little boy's aunt was also there to try on wedding dresses. While she was getting her makeup done and her mother chatted with her, no one was watching the child, who played freely in the store. The mischievous child pulled open my wife's curtain. Many bridal shops have fitting areas in the main hall for better lighting. When the curtain was pulled open, everyone in the store saw her undressed. She was both ashamed and angry and instinctively slapped the child. The child's parents were furious, accusing her of being shameless and hitting their child. They rushed at her, pinning her down, and encouraged the child to hit back. She fights dirty to prevent my wife from having a chance to fight back. She specifically rips off clothes, exploiting others' sense of shame while committing the most outrageous acts. Chapter 2. Countless pains kept magnifying in my heart. I held her, my heart truly aching. As a man, who can accept the girl he protects being humiliated and beaten? Just imagining what she just went through makes it hard for me to breathe. The shopkeeper had already called the police, and they arrived quickly. The woman screamed and cried to the officers, saying she was taking the child to the hospital for a checkup and that she would not spare us if the child was hurt. A policeman came to ask us what had happened, but my wife was still trembling in my arms and couldn't say a word. Seeing her like this made me more scared, so I told the police, "Can you take my wife to the hospital for a checkup first? She doesn't look well." The woman immediately shouted, "What a pretentious coquette. Acting all delicate is disgusting." When I was breastfeeding my child, I didn't care if people saw. What kind of woman acts like such a pretentious coquette? I really wanted to tear out her tongue, but at this moment, my mind was full of worry for my wife's safety. Ignoring the police nearby, I held her and walked out, directly getting into the police car and asking them to take us to the hospital first. At the hospital, the police said this was likely considered mutual assault. The details would have to wait for the injury report. I asked my wife to see the doctor, but she was shaking so badly she couldn't walk, so I ended up carrying her into the examination room. The doctor started examining her, and soon he frowned and asked me to step out. I could only leave with my worries. The little boy soon came out, and it wasn't even a minor injury. He ran to his mother, covering his face and crying that it hurt. The woman hugged her child, glared at me viciously, and kept comforting her child. "Don't be afraid, my dear. If anyone bullies you again, we'll fight back." I clasped my hands tightly, biting my nails, praying that everything would be okay. After a while, the door opened, and the doctor came out, but my wife didn't. He told us, "The situation is complicated. The patient is experiencing palpitations and shortness of breath, and she is mentally unstable. I've contacted an ambulance to transfer her to the central hospital. She might have post-traumatic stress disorder." I was stunned, and the woman was also shocked. She anxiously said, "Am I the only one who thinks she's exaggerating? In this day and age, what's wrong with being seen a little? She was even wearing nipple covers. If she's so old-fashioned that this little thing causes mental illness, then she shouldn't come out and harm others." Chapter 3. She didn't finish her sentence, because I rushed to her side, grabbed her hair, and dragged her into the restroom. The nearby police saw the commotion and quickly tried to stop us, but I swiftly closed the door. Since the child was in her arms, he was also dragged into the restroom. There were urgent knocks on the door from outside, and she nervously said to me, "What are you going to do? Are you going to hit me in front of the police?" I punched her in the stomach, making her kneel in pain. She clutched her stomach and screamed, "Help, police, he's hitting me." I pulled her by the hair and dragged her to the stall. The little boy fell to the floor, crying and hitting me with his tiny fists. "Let go of my mom," I coldly said. "Then don't close your eyes. Watch your mom." I pulled the woman by the hair and opened the stall door. She asked me in panic what I was going to do. I said, "Teach you a lesson." I shoved her head into the toilet bowl, making her face flush, and she started vomiting violently. I pressed her head down and flushed the toilet. I shouted angrily, "Your mouth is so dirty. Let me help you clean it first." She tried to struggle to get up but was pushed back by me. She wanted to vomit but was forced to swallow it back. The child was crying in fear. "Bad man, you're a bad man." I turned to him and said, "Yes, I'm a bad man." "Good boy. Watch closely and remember this bad man's face." The woman was convulsing. And just then, the police broke open the door. I raised my hands and said coldly, "I won't resist. Please take my wife to a big hospital. And if this woman is scared too, it's because she's too weak-minded. Please don't let her harm others in the future." "Okay." I was taken to the police station and told the police that I was willing to be punished for hitting the woman, but she had to pay for touching my wife. However, life is not a drama, and not everything gets justice. The woman was only detained for a day because she had 2 children at home and was a breastfeeding mother. She was released quickly. We wanted to pursue criminal charges, but the police said my wife wasn't physically injured, so it couldn't be pursued criminally. As for just post-traumatic stress disorder, it didn't meet the standard for minor injuries. Unwilling to accept this, I took my wife to consult a lawyer, who told us that in such cases, we could only sue for civil compensation. He advised us to let it go. I got angry and asked if we could sue for defamation, something I found online. The lawyer shook his head and told us that the law has special considerations for breastfeeding women. It's almost impossible to imprison her for this, and even if we managed to sue, she would likely get probation or bail. When we left the lawyer's office, my wife kept her mouth tightly shut, tears streaming down her face. I hugged her tightly, and she cried uncontrollably in my arms. She asked me, "Why do bad people never get punished?" I had no answer. To some, paying a bit of money is punishment enough, but to us, the cost of committing a crime was too low. Chapter 4. I refuse to believe in evil. I won't let my girl suffer such a fate. I tried contacting several more lawyers and even communicated with the court, but in the end, everyone told us that the most we could pursue was a civil lawsuit. My wife's mental state was deteriorating. She had trouble sleeping every night, and even when she did fall asleep, she would wake up from nightmares, trembling in my arms. She cried and told me that living in this world was exhausting, that every time she closed her eyes, painful memories would come back. The psychologist advised us to keep her engaged in activities that gave her a sense of accomplishment, and to avoid idleness, as it would only make things worse. As our wedding date approached, whenever she was unhappy, she would immerse herself in the wedding preparations, hoping to forget the pain through busyness. She would temporarily forget her pain, happily choosing flowers, booking dishes, and even designing the wedding entrance herself. But life is not a drama. It relentlessly drives good people to despair. As our wedding day neared, my in-laws suddenly called us back home. When my mother-in-law saw me, she handed me a large red envelope. I opened it to find it full of cash. My mother-in-law said, "This is the 50,000 yuan betrothal gift your family gave us earlier. I'm returning it all to you today, plus an additional 30,000 yuan as my compensation." I didn't understand what this meant. She sighed and told me that she hoped we would cancel the wedding. My wife was stunned. She had been busy with the wedding preparations these past days, only to be told to cancel it now. My father-in-law suddenly took out his phone and placed it on the coffee table. I looked at the screen. It was a video posted in their neighborhood chat group. It showed my wife being stripped and beaten in the bridal shop earlier. In the video, my wife was covering herself, begging those people not to film, but they only wanted to watch the drama, ignoring her pleas and capturing her most miserable moment. Not only did this person post the video, but she also said in the group chat, at the bridal shop on Chunhua Road, the mistress and her men were taking wedding photos and got stripped by the wife. The child was so angry that he beat the mistress. My wife and I were stunned. The situation was clearly not as this neighbor described, but when she fabricated such a story, it made the video content seem very reasonable. She acted very emotional, posted a crying emoji, and said in the group chat, "Even such a small child knows to defend his mother. This woman is truly a filthy vixen. Share this. Expose the wench. It's everyone's responsibility." The chat group was in an uproar. Everyone was cursing and insulting my wife. People blindly believed what they heard, losing their ability to think independently. I flipped through the phone, but didn't see any response from my in-laws. I asked my mother-in-law, "Why didn't you clarify?" She said, "I can't clarify. Fortunately, you were wearing bridal makeup that day, so the neighbors didn't recognize you. As long as I don't speak up, they won't know it's my daughter." Chapter 5. My wife stared blankly at my mother-in-law, trembling as she spoke. "Mom, are you just going to let them make up lies so they don't know it's your daughter?" My mother-in-law said, "I'm doing this for your own good. Things have escalated to this point. You shouldn't go through with the wedding. It's too embarrassing." My wife interrupted her, crying, "Mom, I'm not dirty. Why shouldn't I get married? Do you think I don't want my daughter to get married? Use your brain. If you get married, put on your bridal makeup. Everyone will recognize you as the person in the video. Do you think your wedding will be happy? Do you think people will bless you? Or will they secretly laugh at you? I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you understand?" My wife couldn't respond. We both understood what my mother-in-law meant. Even if we could clear her name, once the wedding took place, my wife would inevitably become a laughingstock at the wedding. These past few days, my wife's mood had been improving slightly, but she finally couldn't take it anymore. She ran into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. Moments later, I heard her heart-wrenching cries from the bedroom. Why am I the only one who gets hurt? I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I the only one who suffers? Hearing her cries felt like a knife to my heart. Indeed, she did nothing wrong. Why should she bear all the pain? We were now faced with the most painful decision. Either swallow our pride and live under the shadow of slander, hiding our lives and bearing the false accusations to maintain peace, or speak out for the truth, but this would let everyone know who she is and where she lives, subjecting her to gossip and whispers for the next decade. Even when taking out the trash, no matter which path we chose, we were the only ones who would get hurt. I tried to open the door, wanting to hold her, but it was locked from the inside. I said, "Baby, can you let me in?" She cried uncontrollably. She told me she always thought she would marry me. She saved for a long time to buy herself a big diamond ring. She saved 3 years' worth of bonuses to buy an Audi as part of her dowry. She dreamed of sitting in our little car, wearing a wedding dress, and having me put a wedding ring on her finger. She had given so much, enduring years of hardship, just for the dream of a wedding. Now everyone was telling her, "You did nothing wrong, but you can't have your dream." I, too, had tears in my eyes and said hoarsely, "We can get married if you want. I will have the wedding with you. I don't care about people's ridicule. I only want you in my life." She cried and told me that the wedding could never be happy now. Just like her parents said, once she appeared in bridal makeup, it would only invite ridicule. I said nothing more. I just remembered 2 people. The woman who stripped her. I don't know her address, but I remember her name is Karen. In the neighborhood chat group, their usernames are their apartment numbers. The neighbor who posted the video lives in Building 4, Unit 901. I said nothing. Just etched these people into my memory. I clenched my fists, suppressing my inner beast. Every woman in this world has a man who loves her deeply. For her, he would do anything. Chapter 6. I need to find that lying neighbor. I must make her understand that some things shouldn't be said carelessly. Since my in-laws don't dare to clear my wife's name in the chat group, I'll go find that person in person and make her tell everyone that she was mistaken and wrongfully accused an innocent person. While my wife was crying in the room, unwilling to see anyone, I went directly to Building 4, Unit 901. I knocked on the door of 901, but there was no response. I knocked a few more times, and then the door of 902 opened. It was an elderly couple who looked at me puzzled and asked what I was doing. I said I was looking for the resident of 901. The elderly couple looked at me in surprise and said, "901 hasn't been sold yet." I was stunned. If 901 hasn't been sold, how could there be an owner spreading rumors in the group chat? Thinking there must be some mistake, I decided to go ask the group admin. The neighborhood chat group was not created by the property management but by the residents themselves to make it easier to complain about the property management. I knew the admin's address. She lived in Unit 503 of this building. The homeowners committee meetings were always held at 503. I knocked on the admin's door, and luckily someone was home. A woman opened the door a crack and looked at me from behind it, asking what I wanted. I politely said, "Hello, are you the admin of the neighborhood chat group? I'd like to ask about someone." "Who?" I made up a reason and said, "The resident of 901 in Building 4. She borrowed some money from me and then blocked me." I don't want to argue with neighbors in the group chat and make a scene, but when I went to 901 to find her, I found out the unit hasn't even been sold. The admin relaxed and fully opened the door. She explained that a woman had come to her with a rental contract, claiming to be the tenant of 901. Our neighborhood chat group allows tenants to join, but soon after joining, the woman violated the group rules by posting advertisements and was kicked out by the admin. She showed me the ad on her phone. It was a renovation ad. The admin said, "Some people in the renovation business pretend to be residents to get clients." She probably found out from the Housing Bureau's website that 901 hasn't been sold and pretended to be a tenant to join the group. But who knew she'd borrow money from people too? I nodded in understanding. Since the group was created by the residents, if it had been created by the property management, her lie would have been exposed immediately. Seeing the woman's phone number on the ad, I called it, but I was stunned by the response. "The number you have dialed is not in service." How could it be an invalid number? Did the woman even fill out the phone number incorrectly while violating the group rules and posting the ad? Feeling even more puzzled, I asked the admin, "So there's no way I can get my money back? Is there any way to find her?" The admin suddenly pointed to her ceiling, where I noticed a security camera. She said, "When I was running the homeowners committee, the property management kept causing trouble, so we installed a camera. That woman must have been recorded, but I don't know how to use it. My husband is away on a business trip. When he gets back, I'll ask him to retrieve the footage for you." "Okay." I thanked the admin profusely and left with some regret. Although I couldn't find the slanderer for now, the most important thing was to comfort my wife. I had made up my mind. No matter what, I would have a wedding with her. She is the woman I love the most, and I can't let her be with me with any regrets. Chapter 7. The day of the wedding arrived. I put on my suit, tied my tie, and pinned a boutonniere to my lapel. I knew the wedding was cancelled, but I wanted to tell my girl. I booked the plane tickets, planned to take her to the beach, and called a local church to find a pastor. At sunrise, I would put the wedding ring on her finger. At sunset, we would make our vows. Even if our wedding was cancelled, I wanted to tell her, in front of the pastor, that no matter what, sickness, health, poverty, wealth, I would be with her for life. We are not Christians, but to give her a wedding, I would serve the Lord. However, a frantic phone call brought the dream crashing back to harsh reality. When I answered my mother-in-law's call and rushed to the hotel, I saw my wife standing on the rooftop, wearing her white wedding dress. My heart ached as if it were being torn apart. I could hardly breathe. I rushed into the elevator, the anxious heat making me loosen my tie. When I reached the rooftop, the door was locked. I kicked the door hard, breaking the lock. I gasped for breath, looking at her back. In the sunlight, her wedding dress was as white as snow. She stood on the edge of the roof in her high heels, looking so delicate and pitiful. I called out, "Baby." She turned around, her face tear-streaked and sorrowful, crying. She asked me, "If I die, will those who hurt me feel guilty?" I said, "Don't jump, answer me, will you?" A sudden panic gripped me. The panic made me hotter and hotter. I loosened the buttons of my white shirt, gasping for breath. "They won't feel guilty, but I will make them pay. I will make each one of them die with you. If you still love me, if you don't want me to become a killer, don't jump. I will take care of you for the rest of my life." I took out a cross and showed her the plane tickets. I told her that I was willing to spend every future day with her. She looked at the tickets and called me a fool. She wiped away her tears, forcing a smile. "I'm sorry. I can't hold on anymore. Every day I live, I just want to die." A gentle breeze blew, fluttering her hair. She spread her arms as if to embrace me, but her body fell backward, disappearing from my sight. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My mind went blank, and my body trembled uncontrollably. When I ran downstairs, she was lying in a pool of blood, her wedding dress stained red. My mother-in-law fainted from crying on the spot. I knelt beside her, trembling, and cupped her small face in my hands. I stupidly called her, "Baby." She didn't respond. No breath, no pulse. I took out my phone to call an ambulance. At that moment, a WeChat notification popped up from the group admin. "My husband is back. I'll send you that woman's photo shortly." I ignored the WeChat message and urgently called for help. The ambulance arrived, and the paramedics quickly attended to her. I knelt on the ground, watching her being lifted onto the stretcher. My phone vibrated suddenly. I picked it up blankly and saw the photo sent by the group admin. Looking at the woman in the photo, I clenched the cross tightly. That cruel face, that familiar face, it was her. Karen Wong. I should have killed her when I shoved her head into the toilet. The silver cross was already stained with blood. "Heavenly Father, I have no chance to serve you. Heavenly Father, I am about to commit a beastly act. Heavenly Father, am I guilty?" The God in my heart tells me, every woman in this world has a man who loves her deeply. For her, he would do anything, even if it is a sin. Chapter 8. I didn't know Karen's address, but I remembered her child's school uniform from the previous altercation. The uniform had the name Chuanhua Road Chushin Elementary School on it. I got into the car, tears streaming down my face. I kept wiping them away, feeling like I couldn't breathe. I took deep breaths, trying to calm my breathing. I sent a message to the group admin, saying I accidentally left the group and asked her to add me back. Then I started the car and drove towards Chushin Elementary School. Suddenly, my phone rang. I wasn't in the mood to answer, but when I looked at the screen, I saw the contact name, "Bitch." That was the note I had given Karen after our previous conflict. I answered the call. On the other end, I heard her trembling voice, "Hello, hello." I quietly waited for her to continue. She spoke with a quivering voice. "I saw photos circulating on social media about someone jumping off a building. It looks familiar. Is it your wife?" I coldly replied, "You're the one who pretended to be from 901 and spread rumors in the group, aren't you?" She quickly said, "Wait, it's not what you think." I asked, "Then what is it?" Karen cried and explained that there had been a huge misunderstanding. When we were at the bridal shop, I had smashed someone's phone to stop them from filming my wife. After Karen and I were taken to the police station, the child's aunt fixed the broken phone out of her pocket and provided a video as evidence to show that Karen was only holding my wife down and not hitting her. However, Karen was so angry about what I did that she secretly copied the video and found out where we lived, using it to torment us. Karen said anxiously, "I only wanted to vent. I never intended to push anyone to the point of jumping off a building." "Why is your wife always so extreme? Why does she always choose the most extreme way to solve problems? My God. I interrupted her. Why are you calling now? She quietly said, I finish work at 8. I want to know which hospital your wife is in so I can come and talk to you after work. First People's Hospital. I hung up after saying that, but I didn't stop driving. I continued towards Chushin Elementary School. She wanted to talk, but I had no intention of talking. When I arrived at Chushin Elementary School, I hadn't even gotten out of the car when I saw an ironic sight. I saw Karen rushing out of the school with her child, getting into a rideshare and speeding away. Seeing this filled me with cold anger. Lies. Deception. She said she finished work at 8, but now she was hurriedly picking up her child early from school. All of this was her lies. She was probably trying to run away. If I foolishly believed her and waited at the hospital, she would be long gone by the time I realized it. I followed Karen in my car. Eventually, Karen got out at the long-distance bus station. We both entered the station, one after the other. She hurried to the ticket counter with her child, but the child was crying. Mom, I told you so many times I need to go to the bathroom. I can't hold it anymore. Karen didn't agree right away. She checked the departure times first and, after confirming she had time, she took the child to the restroom. She carried the child in a way that his head rested on her shoulder. This put the child facing me. He saw me and widened his eyes in shock. He pounded on Karen's shoulder, shouting excitedly, Mom, the bad man is here. The bad man is here. What bad man? Karen turned around in confusion, and I acted. I grabbed her face with one hand and dragged her towards the restroom. I coldly said, Seems like we always resolve things in the restroom. Didn't get enough last time. The child fell from Karen's arms, crying in pain. Karen struggled but was no match for me. I dragged her into the restroom. The child cried loudly. Someone help. A bad man is hurting my mom. Help. I saw the restroom was empty, so I closed the door and locked it. I threw Karen to the floor. Her face was filled with fear as she crawled backward, saying desperately, It's your wife who's too extreme. She's really sick in the head. My God. Jumping off a building over such a small matter. I'll pay you. Is that enough? I stared coldly at Karen. At that moment, the restroom door was kicked hard, making a loud noise. A voice shouted from outside, Come out, men. Don't hit a woman. We've called the police. Come out now. Chapter 9. I ignored the shouting outside. I didn't care how long the door could hold or if they had called the police. I didn't come here to run. I came here to make Karen pay. Karen's face was full of terror as she kept crawling backward. But how big can a restroom be? She huddled in the corner, trembling as I approached step by step. She cried, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please forgive me. I coldly said, You don't know you're wrong. Your tears and your current attitude are just a disguise because you're afraid of punishment. You're crying to me now, not because you regret your evil deeds, but because you hope I'll be a fool and let you go. She screamed at me through her tears. I was trying to help you. I was stunned. I asked, What help? She said anxiously, Don't you see? Your wife is the kind of person who has a mental illness. She seeks death over the smallest things. If you stay with her, it will only harm you. And mental illness is hereditary. Her genes will pass on to your children, ruining your life. I gasped. I said, You're the one who's sick. You never think you're wrong. You always blame others for your mistakes. You cling to your victim-blaming theory, never considering the crimes you commit. At that moment, the restroom door suddenly banged loudly again. I turned to see the door being kicked open. Of course, it wasn't a security door. It couldn't hold for long. A burly man stood at the entrance, with the little boy hiding behind him. Karen's fear disappeared instantly when she saw the man. She shouted joyfully, Husband, you're here. The man coldly said, As soon as I got your call, I took leave and rushed here. Oh, so this was Karen's husband. Karen, with her husband present, was a different person. She laughed hysterically. You think you're so tough. My husband is a bodybuilder. Keep being tough now. I said nothing. Seeing me silent, Karen became even more frantic. Are you too scared to speak now? You're a coward. You only dare to hit innocent women. Let me tell you, I laughed so hard when I saw your wife jump off the building. She deserved it. She hit my child. It's karma. I hope she dies. I hope the hospital throws her in the morgue. Go ahead and let the judge sentence me. I asked a lawyer. Even if she dies, at most, it's just defamation. I get less than 3 years. That's the fairness of the law. The law doesn't protect bitches like her. Before she could finish, I slapped her across the face. She spun half a circle and fell softly to the ground, her nose bleeding profusely. She covered her nose, screaming in pain. Husband, he hit me. Karen's husband finally couldn't take it anymore and lunged at me. I knew I couldn't beat him in a fight. He was too strong, but I didn't come to fight. I loosened my tie, watching him come closer. Karen's husband grabbed my neck, trying to lift me, and I kicked him hard in the groin. He doubled over in pain, and I clenched my fist, punching him hard in the throat. He could barely breathe. Clutching his neck in agony, I grabbed his head. raised my knee, and smashed it into his nose with all my strength. The strong Karen's husband lost all his strength instantly. He vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground, convulsing. He didn't understand. I didn't come to fight. I came to risk my life. Chapter 10. The public restroom fell silent. Karen was petrified, and the little boy stared at me in shock. The security guard, who had initially intended to intervene, now stood frozen at the door. Suddenly, the little boy burst into tears. He ran towards me, hitting me with his small fists, crying, "Bad man, you hit my mom. You hit my dad." "Yes, I am a bad man." I crouched down, looking the child in the eyes, and said seriously, "Remember my face, remember what I did to your parents, and never forget it." I grabbed the little boy and threw him out of the restroom. He lay on the ground, wailing. As I slowly closed the door, the security guard didn't dare move. A 3,000 yuan monthly salary wasn't worth risking his life. I had been worried that this door wouldn't hold for long, but now the situation was different. There were handrails at the restroom entrance. I dragged Karen's husband to the handrail, and when she saw what I was doing, she lunged at me. "What are you going to do to my husband?" I kicked Karen aside and slipped her husband's arm through the handrail, wedging it in the first stall's gap. Then, I took off my belt and tightly secured his upper body to the handrail. After finishing, I tested the door. Every time I opened it a little, it pressed down on Karen's husband's arm. If I continued, his arm would break completely. This was the best lock. With everything in place, I took out my phone and pointed it at Karen's face. I said, "Confess all your wrongdoings honestly." Karen wiped her bloody nose, trembling as she looked at the camera in terror. She had completely lost her previous arrogance and obediently started speaking into the camera. "I am shameless. I snuck into the homeowner group and smeared others. I didn't control my child. It's all my fault." She confessed her sins to the camera, then asked me quietly, "Can you let us go now?" I shook my head and said seriously, "Do you know the saying? A lie travels halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. Your apology may not reach everyone. The only way to ensure people see your apology is to make it compelling and shareable." "What do you mean?" "I mean your apology video needs to have something eye-catching." Hearing this, Karen instinctively clutched her clothes. She screamed hysterically, "Don't even think about it." I glanced at her. "You're overthinking it. I don't plan to strip you." I kicked open the stall door next to us and pulled out the waste bin, tossing it in front of Karen. She was stunned. I pointed the camera at her and said seriously, "Eat it. That will be more eye-catching than stripping." Karen stared at the waste bin, then leaned closer and began to retch. She cried, "Just kill me. Just kill me already." I frowned impatiently. "Am I the only one who thinks you're crazy? Overreacting to small things and always choosing the most extreme solutions? Why do you always handle minor issues in the most extreme way?" I didn't think I was being unreasonable. I was just repeating her words. But Karen was really extreme. She suddenly stood up, crying hysterically, and lowered her head, aiming to crash into the wall behind her. I grabbed her and yanked her back. I forced her head into the waste bin. She struggled in pain as I coldly said, "Want to die? Sorry. Your life isn't as important as my wife's reputation." Suddenly, sirens blared outside. I looked at the time and frowned. So fast. Only a few minutes. But it didn't matter. I never planned to run, nor did I plan to be taken to court alive. I wasn't afraid of jail, but I couldn't endure a day without her. Chapter 11. Karen lay on the ground, vomiting. The police soon kicked down the door. Suddenly, Karen's husband woke up in pain, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. The police outside saw the situation and hesitated to break down the door further. "Friend, don't do anything rash," the officer said helplessly from outside. "Whatever your troubles, you can talk to the police. Don't do anything foolish." Karen wiped the yellow vomit from her mouth and cried out, "Police, shoot him." I ignored them and checked my WeChat. The group admin had already added me back to the group. I immediately posted Karen's video in the group and followed it with 3 large red packets. Soon, my phone started vibrating wildly. I knew the group was in an uproar. Karen continued to cry, "Shoot him already. He's right behind the door. Can't the bullets go through it?" The officer outside became anxious. "Don't provoke him. And what if we hit you?" "Friend, whatever grudges you have, we can sit down and talk," I said softly. "Don't worry, she won't die for now." "Brother, what exactly do you want?" "I'm waiting for a call from the hospital. I'm waiting for a miracle." I held my phone, murmuring, "If my wife doesn't make it, I'll cut out her heart and see if it's black." The officer outside was taken aback and quickly said, "Your wife is in the hospital. We'll help you contact the hospital." "What's her name? Which hospital is she in? Is it the person who jumped off the building today?" "Yes, that's her." I felt she had no pulse. "I'm waiting for a miracle. Don't worry too much. No pulse doesn't mean there's no hope. We'll contact the hospital right away for you. Just stay calm, and we can talk about any issues." "Look, this man here is seriously injured. Let me take him to the hospital first. The sooner he gets to the hospital, the more lenient your situation will be. You still have time. Don't make a big mistake. I sighed and stopped responding to the voices outside. They didn't understand. If anything happened to my wife, there would be no discussion. No matter the outcome, it wouldn't matter to me. Suddenly, I remembered the day I proposed to her. Although she said she had scrimped and saved for a long time to buy herself a big diamond ring, I knew she was lying. My wife was a little miser. On holidays, she didn't want gifts, just cash. The first cup of milk tea in autumn, 52 yuan. Valentine's Day transfer, 520 yuan. New Year's red envelope, 1,314 yuan. All those numbers with romantic meanings. But I never saw her make any big purchases, until one time she was taking a bath, and I looked at her phone. I didn't intend to check her chat history. I just wanted to use her phone for a verification code to log into a membership to watch a movie. I saw her screen was on a memo titled Eternal Savings. It recorded every transfer I made, and I saw her target amount, 20,000 yuan. The tag had the price, exactly 20,000 yuan. I knew with the atmosphere set and everyone watching me excitedly, I had to propose. I got down on one knee and asked her if she would marry me. Through sickness and health, for life, we would be together forever. I wondered if she had used eye drops beforehand because her tears flowed like a film star in front of her friends. Well, after saving up so hard for the 20,000 yuan and spending it all, she probably couldn't help but cry. She jumped into my arms, tilted her head, and with a smile told me, even if she died, she would haunt me every day. I was so silly then. I just held her and smiled like a fool. I forgot to make her spit 3 times to ward off bad luck. Chapter 12. I overestimated my own strength. I also underestimated the police. I thought they wouldn't be able to easily open the door, but they just opened it a bit and suddenly threw in a smoke grenade. In the small restroom, thick smoke quickly filled the space, making it impossible to see and causing me to cough painfully. With a loud crash, the police broke through the wall next to the door. A second wave of officers used large bolt cutters to snap the handrail at the bottom, then pushed the door open, shouting, "Hurry!" I was pinned to the ground by the police. No matter how unwilling I was, I appeared weak in the face of the state machinery. We were all dragged out by the police, and Karen cried beside them, accusing me of my crimes. I looked at her and couldn't help but laugh. I laughed hysterically. The police came too early. You're not dead yet, so I can't get a heavy sentence. I'll keep an eye on you when I get out. I'll take your whole family. I'll make sure you wake up from nightmares every day, fearing my early release. As long as I'm alive, you'll never dare to sleep. Karen looked at me in terror, clutching the officer's arm and crying, "Do you see? He's crazy. Shoot him." Her terrified expression was like a stimulant for me. I couldn't stop laughing maniacally. I was handcuffed and pushed into the police car. Even when I was handcuffed and questioned at the police station, I couldn't stop laughing. The officer taking my statement asked why I was laughing and told me to cooperate. I said I wouldn't cooperate. I would get out and kill their whole family. Even if I died here, even if I jumped from here, I wouldn't cooperate. A police officer nearby sighed and walked up to me with a phone. The phone had a video call on it. I was stunned. I saw my wife lying in a hospital bed, weakly opening her eyes. "Your wife has been saved. Cooperate. Get out early, and be with your wife." I was stunned. Looking at the video, I finally couldn't hold back my tears and cried like a child. I said okay, I would cooperate. Karen was lightly injured, and Karen's husband had minor injuries. By rights, I should be sentenced to less than 3 years, but to my surprise, Karen's family provided a letter of forgiveness. I couldn't accept this. I couldn't possibly pay compensation to her family, until the lawyer sat with me and told me that my family hadn't paid Karen's family. I asked the lawyer what was going on. He said, "Here's the situation. From what I've gathered, Karen is terrified of you coming out and seeking revenge. She originally planned to sell her house and move, but the property prices in her neighborhood have dropped significantly. If she wants to sell quickly, she would lose 600,000 yuan. I said in astonishment, "How can she be so selfish? Did she consider my feelings? It's hard for me to find her." "Don't interrupt. The point is she doesn't want to lose that much money, so she wants to make peace with you. Why should I? She's not asking for medical expenses." And her video has spread widely. Almost everyone locally knows about it. Whenever she goes out, people will say, "Look, it's the one who ate shit." I couldn't help but laugh. I liked what people called her. The lawyer said seriously, "Her reputation is ruined, and both she and her husband were injured by you. Your wife's injuries are indeed more severe, but now everyone knows she was wronged. Karen's family wants to put this behind them and end the cycle of revenge." I fell into deep thought. The lawyer, seeing me considering, said sincerely, "Do it for the sake of getting out early to be with your wife. A suspended sentence is the best outcome. If you push her too hard, she might lose the 600,000 yuan and send you to prison." I asked, "How much did she buy that school district house for?" "Reportedly, she bought it for 3 million. Got it. I accept their terms. Chapter 13. I was given a suspended sentence. My old company didn't want me anymore. But as the saying goes, a tree dies standing, but a man can always find a new way. I figured losing my job didn't mean I couldn't make money. A government official asked me about my plans, and I cautiously asked if I could open a braised food shop. They said, of course, no problem. They were very supportive of people with suspended sentences working. So, I discussed it with my wife, and we rented a shop across from Chushin Elementary School to open a braised food shop. My friends often came to support me. Whenever school let out, friends would come by to chat and then order a braised duck neck. It was quite a coincidence that whenever they bought a duck neck, Karen's son would always come out of the school gate. I would immediately take the order, grab the duck neck, and go to the cutting board, saying, buy a duck neck. Some friends would say they didn't want to eat duck neck. I said, no, you do. Then I would raise the cleaver, glaring at the boy, and chop down hard on the duck neck with a loud thud. Karen's son would always turn pale and run away. Over time, Karen couldn't take it anymore and called the police. She cried to the officers. He promised not to mess with my family anymore, but he scares my child every day. My child is too scared to go to school. I spent 3 million yuan on that school district house. We've emptied our savings. I said in shock. How am I scaring your child? My goodness. Am I the only one who thinks you're overreacting? I'm just chopping braised food. Officer, look at my orders. I showed him the orders, clearly proving I was selling duck necks at that time. Karen, desperate, said, you have so much braised food. Why is it every time my son comes out, you're chopping duck necks? And why do you insist on chopping the duck neck for every customer? Yes, my duck necks sell well. Chopping the duck necks makes them easier to eat. Don't you sell anything else? We also sell beef ribs, but those need more chopping. Then why do you always stare at my son while chopping? I'm good with my knife. I can chop accurately without looking. Does it matter where I look? I just look at the school gate, thinking it would be a good school for my future kids. Karen turned red with anger and couldn't say another word. My wife tried to persuade the police. My husband is really just selling duck necks. She's overthinking it. I felt it was absurd. What's the big deal about me selling duck necks? Later, for some unknown reason, Karen's son refused to go to school. I felt sorry for him and even had 3 bowls of rice out of pity. In the end, Karen had to sell the house and move with her child. It said that she lost not just 600,000 yuan but a total of 800,000 yuan, counting the bank loans. She lost all her money, but my braised food shop was doing well. Many people would come before drinking to buy braised food as a snack, or call me for delivery. They said they respected me as a tough guy. Men should support other men and make friends. Apparently, my story had spread around, and many guys became my supporters. At night, I closed the shop, and my wife clung to my arm, snuggling up to me as we walked down the street. Our new home wasn't far, and we always walked home. I said softly, honey, let's close the shop for a month. She was stunned. Why? Don't you want a wedding? I want to travel with you, get married, and go on a honeymoon, she said in surprise. Are you crazy? We make over 2,000 yuan a day, but the wedding, I'll say it again, over 2,000 yuan a day. Our regulars are friends now. We can hire employees. If you hire employees, they'll think you've struck it rich and won't want to support you anymore. People are more afraid of their friends driving a Range Rover than not being able to drive one themselves. I hugged her tightly and said, feeling wronged. Okay. Suddenly, she turned and hugged me, saying softly, I don't want a wedding anymore. I want something else now. I asked curiously, what? She stood on tiptoe and suddenly kissed my lips, smiling. Guess what I want the most is already right in front of me. After saying that, she turned and skipped down the sidewalk. In the moonlight, I watched her back, thinking hard but still couldn't figure out what she wanted. The thing she wanted the most, right in front of her. I understood. It must be the 2,000 yuan a day.